I had a whoopsie. Kind of a whoopsie. It was somewhat intentional with some of the plants, but see this maxillaria tenifolia? Not looking too hot, is it? Is it an infection? Fungus, bacteria, virus? Well, I have another one here. This is one of my zygopetalum crosses. Looks terrible, doesn't it? Not so good. Uh-oh. Well, this actually is not diseased, even though they look terrible. These two orchids, there's actually a third one I'm going to show you, got left out in the cold here, and they had gotten blown under some debris during a storm. I could have sworn I brought this one inside, but you know, when you have too many, I should make an inventory list. I kind of have a rough draft of one. But anyways, the surprising part here is, yeah, this doesn't look very good. There's a lot of dead foliage, but the pseudobulbs are still hard. They're shriveled, but the big growths on here, they're still nice and firm and fairly plump, considering. So a little background to this, it has been in the teens at nighttime here. And since, I would say, probably the last week of October, today's December 7th, I believe, the highs have been around 40 to 50 degrees, and the lows have been around 38 to 30, with the exception of the last 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks, the temperatures have been dropping well below 30. And the last few days, the temperatures have been in the teens. And I'm pleased, honestly, to just be truthful here, that this actually looks okay. If these pseudobulbs, they're still really hard. There's no mush there. So, yeah, the leaves are toast, but really, this should be fine, despite those horribly, horribly cold temperatures. So, this cross is more cold hardy than I ever would have thought. The maxillaria, on the other hand, I knew these guys were tough. And this is a division I took off of one of mine over the summer with the intent of leaving it out to test its cold limits. And it can take a lot of cold. A lot of cold. This is not an orchid I would be worried about if I lived in Zone 8B. Or 9, that's for sure. But I'm in Zone 6B, so this is not something I'll be leaving outside ever. Yeah. Thing with cold damage is, so these do look terrible, but they do look like they will recover. The thing is, though, sometimes cold damage can take weeks to really show its rotten signs. That's when you start to get infections, bacterial infections, in the crowns and apexes of the plants when you have freezing and thawing temperatures. That creates bacteria. It's the same reason why, like, if you ever are eating ice cream and it melts, you shouldn't really refreeze it and then eat it again. You should toss it. But, I mean, most people refreeze it and they're fine, but bacteria grows in the freezing and thawing. So it'll be several weeks until I can really say whether or not these are okay, but initially, considering 2 nights around 15 degrees with highs in the upper 20s, and then several weeks below 45 degrees, I'm surprised. But I'm even more surprised by what I'm going to show you next. This is a Motes. It's one they sent free with an order. I think it's the Hiroshima's. Oh, yeah, it's the Hiroshima's Choice. This guy, I found under a bunch of leaves. So those leaves protected it. But, I mean, it wasn't buried very deep. I could still see the wire and everything sticking through. But I am absolutely shocked that this does not have more damage on it. This doesn't, these don't have pseudobulbs, the Vandaceous orchids, so the damage shows much more quickly, much faster on these. What it is what you see is what you get with them. You don't have a lot of residual storage space in there, so yeah, I'm surprised. It definitely has damage, but several weeks in the 40s with regular lows into the 30s, 20s, and then a few nights in the teens. I mean, its roots are still green. I'm blown away. Well, we'll see. I'm going to give that some more time. But that's all for today. Just a quick talk on cold hardiness / neglect and poor planning. Happy gardening, everybody.